So we have been talking about inflation and retirement. Now, we have been talking about it for a couple of years, saying that we think it's coming and it's here now. So if you're retired, this is a crisis for you. If you don't think inflation can happen here, think again. So let me go through some of the data that we see. So we're in the real estate business. We have people asking us all the time, prices are really high. Can they go higher? Well, I have to tell you, our model is predicting prices to go much, much higher from here. And unless we have a Mad Max event, everything, and I mean everything, including home prices, are heading higher. Now, we do seminars. We talk about inflation and demographics, but today we're going to talk about inflation. And let's just talk about how that is going to affect you now. So let me go to my next slide. And this is our model. Now, this model has been deadly accurate. It's based on an 18-year real estate cycle that repeats itself over and over and over again, going back to before the Revolutionary War. Now, my model's been very accurate, but doesn't mean it has to stay accurate. So like most models, it works until it doesn't work. But it has predicted the correction in mid-course, which was March 2018, to the month. We knew exactly when it was coming in and when it was leaving. It made a great, terrific opportunity to purchase. We think we still have time before the cycle turns. And this is when fortunes are literally made. Now, we think we're right about here, so we're finishing what we would call the accumulation phase. We probably have another 4 or 5 months of doing that. I'm going to guess it's probably sometime in the time frame of April or May next year, and we're going to go into this explosive phase, and this should last about 24 months. In that time frame, home prices should really, really accelerate. And people say, how is that possible? How is it possible that that can happen given the fact that these prices have already come up? Well, our data is just showing it. The model is showing it. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to, but if the model's correct, things are going to go much, much higher. Now, with our model, we often talk about the fact that we know what is going to happen. We don't always know why. So today we're going to talk about why. One of the possible scenarios that we see, a very real scenario. So if you're retiring and you don't consider inflation in your retirement basket as to how you're going to live for the next 25 or 30 years, because remember, we are going to live a lot longer. Now, we are really close to being in full employment. All those people that want to work are working. You've heard all the stories, how hard it is to find a worker, how to get employees, how much more you have to pay them, how we've gone from $10, $11, $12 an hour to $20 an hour at fast food restaurants. Now, let me tell you, they are not going back to $12 an hour. Once you start making $20 an hour, you're not going to say, oh, well, okay, let me take an $8 an hour cut. That's not going to happen. So wages have gone up, and they've gone up considerably. These wages are there forever, and we're at full employment. In order to get more people, you have to pay them more money. Now, that is very, very good for the economy. But I must tell you that we're talking about putting a stimulus package of trillions and trillions of dollars when we're already at full employment. That is just going to put all kinds of money and stimulus into an already fully employed economy. And it's just going to be like throwing gasoline on a fire. And that is very, very bad results. And that's what we're looking at. Now, here's the data. This is today's data. We just got November's producer price inflation and year-over-year CPI. Now, the CPI is the consumer price index. That's what everybody pays. That's all the things that you buy. Everything that's important to you has gone up 6.8% officially with the government. But now the November producer price index, just November, And when we say producer price index, that's what the producers, that's what's made at the manufacturers when they have to buy raw materials. Well, you don't think they're going to just not pass that money on, do you? Of course, if they pay more money for the product, they're going to pass that cost on. And in November, year over year, 9.6% inflation in November. So that's almost double digit. And that's why gasoline's more money. That's why it costs you more money for your groceries. That's why meat's more money. Electricity, going to the doctor or the dentist. It's so good for workers to make some money. It's a great time to be a worker. Make a lot of money. You can do overtime. You have money to invest. This is just great, but it's inflation. So you as a baby boomer, a lot of my baby boomer clients are on fixed income. They don't have an income that changes to the economy. They have fixed income, and when you have prices going up almost 10%, that means that they've lost 10% of their purchasing power. And they've got 30 or 40 years of life in front of them. And you know, as we get older, things happen to us. Who wants to be 85 or 90 or 95 years old and be a pauper? Sure, you could have $5,000 a month coming in, but if it costs you $10,000 a month to live, it doesn't do you any good. So this is just what we just saw. This is happening now. We have inflation in the system. To make matters even worse, the CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, if you take and drill down, the consumer durable goods hit an all-time record. That record was held since May 1975. What is that? 45 years ago? 50 years ago? In May of 1975, the consumer durable goods hit 14.4%, and we just set a record. How cool is this? We had more than that, 14.9%. 14.9%. Well, if you got a 10% raise and things just went up 14%, you lost 4%. You're actually going backwards. And if you're a baby boomer, we got a 3.2% Social Security increase. What up 14%? Well, you're losing money. And of course, you're not getting anything at the bank. You're in deep, deep trouble. We need to do something about this, or you are going to be run over in the road. But in 1975, when that consumer durable goods hit 14.4%, that ushered in 6 years. 6 years of double-digit housing prices. And of course, it wasn't just housing, it was absolutely everything. But just think, we just set that record. So does that mean that we're going to get another 6 years of double-digit inflation? Well, my model's predicting much, much higher prices. I'm thinking this might be one of the reasons that we're going to have that. Let me go to my next slide. Now, here's what really, really concerns me. This is something that I don't think anyone is talking about, but we've got 14.9% consumer durables inflation when the US dollar is really, really strong. You know, it was at 96.51 at the DXY on December 20th. Just a couple days ago. That's a pretty strong dollar. Now, we've seen it down in the low 80s. A lot lower than where it's at, and everything that's at the commodities is expressed in US dollars. So if you have a really strong dollar, that means that oil prices are fairly low relative to the US dollar. But they're not relatively low. They're pretty high. Same with wheat and corn and copper and iron ore, lumber. All these things are high when the dollar is high. My concern is this. What's going to happen when the dollar softens? Because the dollars always cycle. They go up, they go down, and right now it's fairly strong. Let me go to my next slide. We'll take a look at that. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about Turkey. And if you don't think it can happen here, think again. Now in Turkey, Turkey's had a checkered past. They've got some problems. They've got problems with their leadership. And they've had trouble with their dollar. Well, their dollar is called the lira. And as little as February 2021, that lira was expressed at 7 lira to the US dollar. It's fairly stable for a long, long time. And look what's happened now. Just 3 days ago, 4 days ago, it was expressed at 18 lira to the dollar. It has lost almost 70% of its purchasing power. Now, what does that mean? If you're in Turkey, that means everything is expressed in US dollars. So that means that all your food went up, all the electricity, anything that was imported just went up 2.5 times in 6 months. That means if you're buying insulin and it's coming from the United States, it went up 2.5 times. Now, I'm going to tell you, your income did not go up 250% in 6 months if you're in Turkey, and they are just in deep, deep trouble. Now, that can happen here. All we have to do is see a little bit of softening in the US dollar, and you're going to see inflation. You're going to see a lot of inflation. Now, so keep your eye on Turkey. When you see seeing inflation like this, it causes turmoil. It causes internal turmoil. You got to watch Turkey because they're always going to have someone else is going to be the problem. You know, it's not going to be the leadership. It's going to be some other outside enemy, and that's going to cause problems. But it's because it's inflating, and their dollar is dropping. Their lira is dropping like a rock. It would really concern me, but it can happen here. Here's what we see. We see prices on property going up, and it's being confirmed by the fact that rents are going up right along with it. One of the great tells when it says that you're getting up close to the end of it is that rents don't go up. Prices keep going and rents reach their plateau and don't go. Well, that's not happening. We're seeing rents are going up. We certainly have scarcity. We're here in Maricopa County, home to Scottsdale, Gilbert, Chandler, Phoenix, Surprise. These are just great, great places to live. And we have a huge influx of population, but it's across the whole country. We're seeing rents go up absolutely everywhere in the country. As long as rents are going up, prices of homes are going up too. And let's get some rental properties for you so that you can protect your purchasing value. You're going to get income, but it's going to protect you. Remember, you got 30 or 40 years of retirement we have to take care of. Here's the weird thing. Shelter is almost 33% of the consumer price index. So I'm telling you that index is going to go up because we see shelter going up. We see rent going up. That means it's going to drag that consumer price index up. Now they're going to change the index. So if you don't like the results, just change the index and watch for the CPI to start heading down because they're going to start calculating it differently. That does not change the story. Prices are still going up and you need to protect yourself. Shelter is one of the basic groups. Food, water, shelter. This is something that's basic. Even if you run into a tough economy, everyone needs a place to live. And we see prices going up considerably. Now, how do you do this? How do you take advantage when you realize and recognize the fact that we have an inflationary wave right now? Now, is it transitory? I don't know. It doesn't look like it's transitory. Could be. And then again, what's the definition of transitory? You know, in the 70s, which looks like we're starting to mimic, that was transitory. It was only 6 years. 6 years of transitory inflation. Well, in a lifetime, if you're thinking 50 or 60 years, well, 6 years is transitory. But if you're living through it and you're getting your income off it, it's not transitory. So you have to recognize the fact that we have an inflation wave and just ride it. Now, what we're going to recommend to you is to buy one house every year. If you're working, this is just a great strategy. If you're retired, there's still things that we can do. We can get you properties and protect your purchasing ability and put income into your property, and will grow some wealth. Because if inflation's coming, prices are going to go much higher. Everything is going to go much higher, and you need to protect yourself. Now, This is a CYA for me. We are here in Phoenix, Arizona. I am licensed through West USA. Our staff is licensed. They hold all our licenses. They keep us in compliance. They do our paperwork. We love these guys. They did over $5 billion in sales, so they're a pretty big company. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me at michael@michaeldeville.com. Send me a comment. If you'd like to consult with us, we're more than happy to do that. If you're starting into the real estate business, then my book, How to Create a Real Estate Money Machine and Retire with Income, is probably a very, very good course for you. And if you're just starting real estate investing for beginners, we'll take you by the hand and teach you what you need to know. Now, if you need to reach me at michael@michaeldeville.com, and I will do everything I possibly can, my very, very best to you. Bye-bye.